A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there were only two paths to unfathomable amounts of money. You could either master the art of ultimate patience, turning $250 into $70,000, or you could try to expedite the process by joining the dark side of WallStreetBets. And once you touch the formidable force of 0-day still expiry options, only one thought remains in your mind: YOLO. Most are consumed by this unlimited power, losing life savings and plunging into debt. Yet only a few possess the strength to YOLO their way to millions. And it is my honor to present to a trader who goes by the name of Reno Jackson. This absolute genius turned $120,000 into $1,621,360.42 in just this year, in less than 2 months. Although on the all-time chart he's up by about $1.3 million, meaning that he initially started with around 300k, made a series of losses bringing his account down to 120k, and then in less than 2 months he made back all his losses and more. He restarted trading at the end of January and had an unbelievable run. He was obviously mostly trading options of Taiwan Semiconductor, Coinbase and MicroStrategy, with both Coinbase and MicroStrategy absolutely exploding recently due to the Bitcoin rally. And based from the trades we can see, he was trading just 1 and 2 day still expiry options, making his positions extremely risky, especially when the underlying stocks were moving based on Bitcoin's price. Needless to say, he lost 2 months of sleep and just needed to take a break, talking himself out of YOLOing on weekly options again. And the way he was trading and the fact that he was actually profitable is just truly mesmerizing. In early February he went all in into Taiwan Semiconductor weekly options, then he did Coinbase options but got more than a 50% return by mid to late February. And then he went all in into MicroStrategy, cashed out in late February, went back to Taiwan Semiconductor 2 day still expiry options and got an over 100% return overnight. Then he moved back to MicroStrategy again, and here he is. But you see, he started trading more than 20 years ago and only recently had some success. And to get to this point he had to go through a lot of pain. I mean, just look at this. He bought leap calls on Nvidia in February 2023, and as the stock continuously went up, he made a whopping $500,000 by June already. But then he made a few stupid mistakes and lost it all in just 2 days. Sadly, that's not all, because in 2020 he also ran up to $1 million trading AMD and Nvidia, but he kept going and lost almost everything in early 2021. Now, the most important thing he learned is that it's not about your due diligence nor about timing, but how to overcome one's emotion. And hoping to not repeat his mistakes, he decided to go all in into Bitcoin and Ethereum without using margin and no more 0 day still expiry options. Now he's just hoping he won't come back next month posting and it's gone. But there are far worse things you can lose than just your gains. You see, Puzzle-Headed Bank 89 made a series of mistakes and found himself in a very bad spot. He lost 99.99% of his account, or $96,567.79, and is left with just $14.21. And despite his chart being one of the worst charts I've ever seen, as he didn't even make a single gain before his account went down the drain, making a huge loss, he unfortunately lost way more than his savings, completely changing the course of his life. Now you see, he never thought this would be him, but here he is. He started in August of 2020 with meme stocks and found options quickly after. He's turning 26 in a couple of weeks, still lives with his parents, could have even bought a house, but this was all the money he has plus a 30k loan. Not to even mention he blew up an IRA that had 15k in it. Now he has to go back to the construction grind and still tell his family, which definitely won't be pretty because he lied to them, as they simply think he has $60,000 in the bank, don't know about the trading at all, and likely have zero clue about the 30k loan he took to fuel his gambling addiction. But before he got to this point, he started with just 10k in AMC, and unfortunately his position dropped to 2k and he caught his losses. Then he just added 1k every other week for 4 years and lost it to the riskiest instrument in the market, 0 day still expiry or weekly options. He even joined a Discord where he followed someone, but clearly it didn't help him out. So yeah, he was basically doing the same thing for 4 years and never changed. Now he did tell his GF about it, and that went better than than expected and seems like they'll be fine. His parents are disappointed but still support him, which he expected, so all in all he'll be okay. But despite this huge monetary loss and going into debt, he will be back, because he believes he'll make his comeback even though he won't be YOLOing into options ever again. He will make his comeback. Speaking of comebacks, well, I guess this is not really a comeback, but this trader proved you can turn a rather small amount of money into more than $400,000 in a completely unfathomable time span, a single month. And high on his success, he was finally able to afford a Lambo. He goes by the name of WOT Eugene, and his journey starts on February 16. He got lucky 2 weeks prior and turned just $12k into $90,000. In reality, he started with $21,000, but his account dropped a bit. His first big win was on arm calls on earnings when he turned just 6k into 28k, going from an all-time loss to a nice gain in a single trade. The other big win was Coinbase earnings calls on which he turned 10k into 60k. He bought into ARM because of the AI hype train and the recent IPO, but the calls he had were long dated, so a bit safer. And he bet on Coinbase because it seemed like a no-brainer, especially with the revived crypto bull market and the new revenue channel from spot ETF custodian fees. Now, because he didn't want to go full gambling mode, he decided to save about $40,000 and split the rest into two new YOLOs. The first one was a 40k YOLO on Dell call options, as he was betting on earnings, with his main reason being that if SMCI can do it, why not Dell? Plus, Dell has a massive support organization and they might actually be leveraging AI chatbots for better margins now. And his second YOLO was on Snowflake calls right after earnings when the stock dropped by 18%. His position was worth about $14,000 and he was hoping for a bounce similar to PANW. But back to his first YOLO. As Dell stock rose by more than 30% on earnings, he posted a new post saying he's getting a Lambo as he turned just 20k into 315k in a month. Needless to say, it was a big day that day, as his Dell YOLO was a home run in true regarded fashion. But despite making $147,000 on this trade alone, skyrocketing his account to $317,000, he decided not to sell and diamond hand his calls through next week in case it goes another 20 to 30%. Most people would obviously sell and secure the gains, especially after making a 347% gain and taking a screenshot. But he has a different mentality, and I think his inspiring message truly sums it up. And before you tell me to stop being a regard and put my into some safe stocks or whatever, this amount doesn't materially change my life. Now, if I run this into a 7-figure account, then maybe it's a different story. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going full regard. Sadly though, the stock started slowly falling right after, and because Snowflake continued falling after earnings, his second YOLO also didn't look that great, as he was down by 84% or almost 12k. And with that, he YOLO'd $75,000 into Taiwan Semiconductor calls, because they are now pretty much the most important company in the world. So he's hoping for a nice run up and smash earnings in April, and just hoping that the chip bubble doesn't pop before then. And after a couple of days, he finally got his account up to $428,000. And aside from the Dell options he's still holding, and already mentioned Snowflake and Taiwan Semiconductor positions, he's up by almost $100,000 on SOXL calls. Now, his strategy is mostly focused around option plays around earnings. He works in tech, so he prefers to stick to what he knows, hence he's mostly playing software, hardware, chips and some crypto. That way he feels like it's 90% luck and 10% stuff he knows. Having that said, he will not sell everything and buy property, dividend stocks or he is aware of the tax man and is doing his part to pay off our national debt. And he's taking this to 7 figures or bust. Oh, and here is the Lambo he bought. Anyway, this next trader proved that sometimes you don't even have to YOLO, you just have to be patient. He goes by the name of I has an email, and his travel buddy got mugged in Morocco, so he spotted him $250 cash. He was broke, so he paid him back in Bitcoin, and here is the catch. That was 9 years ago and he held on to it. As you can see, on June the 3rd, 2015, his position was worth just $241 $69.05, and now it's worth $69,166.60. And lastly, I present to a truly spectacular conclusion to an incredible journey by a trader who goes by the name of Tripster. Throughout years, he turned $200 into $600,000 in less than a month, but ultimately lost $146,000. And most recently, he turned just $3,000 into $300,000 in 1 month by going all in 3 times in a row into weekly options, doing one of the riskiest things possible and betting on the earnings. Somehow he was successful, but hoping he'd learn from his past mistakes, you'd expect him to stop. I mean, even he said that he's done now as it takes too much focus and he might be back later in the year. But I guess he just couldn't stay away, because just a couple of days later he said he made another 50k on Dell, 40k on SPY calls and 30k on Palantir calls, bringing his account to 420k. And then he put 75k down on Kroger calls, expiring in a month, because consumer spending is back in full force, which is why he originally started with Square. He thought everything indicated solid earnings as they seemed to be hitting targets from the past results. And as hours ticked away, he increased his position to 130k just before the earnings. He was once again absolutely right, with the stock jumping up by almost 10%, making him a $110,000 gain in just a day and bringing his account from just 3k a month ago to 480k now. And just to make the ending even more perfect, he already sold his Kroger calls and withdrew $200,000. But is his journey actually over? I guess only time will tell. And if you want to see how this business student lost his great-grandmother's inheritance, click on the video just popped up. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions or recommendations, leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.